Sulaiman sir, Director, Operations, Professional Education and Research Foundation. He is also a good speaker. Already we had his speeches, we heard his speeches. Now I welcome you, sir, on behalf of Umar and handing over the session to. Thank you, sir.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. Today, the topic that has been given to me is about 360-degree learning in schools. Now, when we look at our day-to-day activities, whether it be professional life, whether it be personal life, we all want to be complete. We all want to address our various actions in a complete perspective. And that is where this concept of 360 degree comes from. If you are in a corporate environment, you would have heard about 360-degree performance appraisal. If you are a trainer or a teacher, you would have learned about 360-degree feedback. If you are a learner or a student, 360-degree learning is for you. And when I say 360-degree learning, I want to clarify that all of us, as you all understand and agree with me, we are all learners at in some aspect or the other. We are all learners. We may have reached positions, we may have become teachers, professors, principals, but end of the day, we are all learners until our death. We keep on learning. At the same time, we also impart education to our learners. So let's have a brief look at what this means and how this has to be incorporated in today's environment. This concept of 360-degree learning includes the aspects of students' experiences that impacts their education. We are all used to the conventional board, chalk and talk mechanism that has been conventionally used for ages. And we all know that that is something that is the norm or the order of the society. But with increasing issues in the youth, especially in a post-COVID world, where we have problems with attention deficit, we have problems with increased screen time, where we have problems with attention span, which is decreasing every day, where we have problems with children not being able to focus at a given particular time or a given particular object for a long period. Just as a use case, let us take the social media itself. Even a video that is 4 minutes or 5 minutes is now considered as a long one, and many people do not watch it completely. And that is what has given rise to something called reels and shorts videos, which are 30 seconds in nature. We are going through a very challenging phase of time where people are expecting to get content in 30 seconds or less. And that is what decides whether they will take it or leave it. So the duration in which the message is conveyed is now one of the key factors that determines whether the person is paying attention to what you're delivering or a person is skipping what is being told. So with ever decreasing attention span, with an everyday decreasing, sitting tolerance, we have to go to the tools that are now means to engage the learners. And definitely it is not the whiteboard. Yes, the conventional system of teaching and learning will continue. It is therefore staying, but that alone is not sufficient. As I used to recall and tell my students, when we were students, we had no other source of information except our teachers. Whether we know a thing or we don't know a thing depends on whether we attended school during that day or not. And when we used to miss school, We used to take the notebook from our friend, take it and copy that which was taught on the day that we were absent. Otherwise, we had a sense of losing out on that topic. Subhanallah, the world has changed so much. Now, a child who is absent for a day does not care because you and me are not the only source of information. They can learn the same thing from 100 other sources. It can be social media, it can be internet, it can be YouTube, it can be anything. So the fact of missing out, or the fear of missing out on the content, or the fear of not learning that which was taught when I was absent is no more a fear. The students are casual about not attending certain classes because they know the alternate means or the sources through which the same information can be sought. That being the case, it is time for us to move on and give them a completely holistic environment or a learning mechanism where they are connected, where they feel a part of the system, where they are immersed into learning. And that is what leads to this concept of 360-degree learning. Let us go into four basic mechanisms through which we can enforce or adopt 360-degree learning. The first and the most basic learning mechanism in the 360-degree learning framework is learning by observation. Yes, we teach students, we deliver classroom lectures, we take sessions, we tell them what is the content, we teach them. All of that is fine. But there is something that is beyond, which is observation. And increasingly, we have seen that learning by observation has become rampant, and students are now picking up things very quickly from what they observe, very quickly from what they see, very quickly from what they observe from the environment. And observational learning has four steps. Observational learning has four steps, and this is something that we have to reinforce into our learners, into our students, because merely looking at people, merely observing situations will not help them understand the complete picture. And as they say, learning with observation has four steps. Number one, attention. Attention to details. Attention to details of what they are observing. If they are looking at traffic on a street, if they are looking at a particular incident, if they are looking at someone demonstrating some experiment, if they are looking at two people trying to discuss a topic, first thing that they need is attention, complete attention to the topic, to the thing being discussed, to the object that they are observing. And once they are attentive and are keen on understanding, or seeing what they are seeing, second part comes retention. Whatever they saw, whatever they observed, whatever they have noticed now has to be retained as a memory in terms of learnings, in terms of findings, in terms of observations. This retention will help them to relate to what they saw versus what they learned. And we have a lot of observation that we ourselves do at every traffic signal, at every drive, at every place, at every event, at every marriage, or every function, every day at work. We have a lot of things that we observe, and based on those observations we have learnings, we have findings, and those are things that need to be retained by the students. And the third thing is reproduction or simulation of what they saw. So if they are picking up a good learning, if they are understanding a new concept through observation, it is time for them to also reproduce that I'm not talking about general observation. I'm talking about observation which are related to their curriculum, to their studies, to their syllabus, to their point of focus in terms of their academics. Now it is time for them to reproduce, and this is what they try to simulate. We have seen a lot of science experiments, do it yourself experiments, where the children look at YouTube or social media, and observe certain experiments or observe certain actions, and then they try to redo it, they try to reproduce it. And last aspect of observational learning is the motivation that has to be there, either intrinsic or extrinsic, to be able to continue this action in loops for different topics, for different subjects, for different themes. And this is something that is also helpful in motivating a student or keeping a student attached to content. Today, if we are teaching students on the whiteboard or like inside the classroom, yes, there are students who do pay attention, who do learn new things. But if the same thing is repackaged and provided to them in the form of an activity or a task or an observational method, then the people who are not able to focus on a particular classroom lecture often tend to come up with results. They show up better productivity, and they show up better learning skills when they observe things being done. A simple example of learning by observation is that you tell students a particular situation and ask them to observe, like what the science teachers normally do. They ask the children to germinate a seed in their pots inside their homes and watch it daily and take notes of what happened on day one, what happened on day two, what happened on day three, probably. Another aspect of observation may be looking at traffic, the crowd in the traffic, or vehicles that are on the road, and the signals, the traffic signs, that can be an observation. There can be things such as an emergency procedure, when there is an ambulance coming, when there is an ambulance that is attending to a patient on the road, or to a fatality or a casualty on the road, what happens and how people conduct themselves. These are social experiments or social observation. So beyond the classroom, we need to teach our students learning by observation, because what cannot be taught in those 40-45 minutes of the period of the classroom can be definitely taught or instilled through observation. The second aspect of learning 360-degree is learning by doing. Certain times, as we all know, the types of learners differ from person to person. We have visual learners, we have audio learners, we have people who are reading, learners by reading. We have people who are kinesthetic learners. So we have this whole model of work where different people or different learners prefer different medium of learning. And one of the very prominent sets of people are the kinesthetic learners. They might not be paying attention. They might not be listening carefully to instructions. But once you give them some activity that is physical in nature, that is a call to action, that makes them do something personally, then definitely they do pick it up. And you could notice these type of learners in every single class. You give them tasks, you give them projects, you tell them to do certain things that have been taught to them. Learning by doing, of course, is a much effective activity, or much effective way of sticking to the, or attracting the learners to learn new things. And this is something that has been done in the form of laboratories and experiments. But what I am pointing to is beyond the school hours. beyond the four walls of the school, beyond the working hours of the school. If we can give them learning, and activities to do, it can be by usage of social media with a safe, watch or safe supervision. It can be by usage of YouTube videos, of course, with supervision. So if you can, uh, make the child do something or do an activity based on the lesson taught, and give them the leeway of using the tools, of course, with parental supervision, then you have a much higher chance of the student getting involved. And as we all know, the confidence level of doing something is always higher. Hearing and learning and memorizing is effective, but the confidence that a student gets by doing something is much, much higher. And we see this nowadays with a lot of projects that people show physics tips and tricks and hacks. Certain people do chemical, hacks. Certain people do social experiments. So when you are guiding students to learn by doing certain activities or tasks, the confidence level or the foundation of the student in that particular domain definitely increases. The third way in which learning can be reinforced 360-degree is by interaction. And this is something that is very, very important, especially in a post-COVID world. We were in lockdowns, and the concept of interaction has been redefined completely. People used to be inside Zoom classes, 40 people, 50 people, but when you call out their names, very few would respond. It would look like as if you're talking to walls. People would not want to interact. People would want to stay silent, on mute. People would not want to speak up. Interaction is a very, very important aspect of learning, especially when we are talking about things that have more than one perspective. Interactions help. Interactions do give them multiple perspectives, do give them the various uh, dimensions in which a particular problem or an issue or a topic can be handled. It also gives the difference of thought processes between people to people, or between people of different ethnicity and geography. Interaction is a very important catalyst in learning. So it can be interacting with real people, it can be interacting with peers, it can be interaction with their own students in the form of group discussions. It can be forming of teams of team A, team B within the same class, where team A talks about the pros of a particular method, team B talks about the cons of a particular method. So within the classroom, you promote interaction. We are actually, there is a difference again between generations. We belong to the generations where our teachers used to say pin drop silence. That's no longer the norm. That's no longer the order of the day. We do not see pin drop silence, or nor is that desired now. It is interaction. We want the students to communicate with each other. Of course, we draw the boundaries of the communication, we lay the rules of the communication, and then we leave them open to interact. So they can do group work, they can team up with their friends and try to come out with one particular perspective. They can debate about a plus and minus of the same thing. They can do a joint project, they can interact with their seniors to understand, they can interact with their juniors to understand. So there are a lot of learnings that are there through interaction. So promote interaction between peers, between students of different grades, academically, of course, in a way that is productive and controlled, but never stop interaction. We are coming out of that stage where students just find out one particular way to answer things. This is this and that is that. We are coming out of the age where students do not want to go to the textbook. They want to only reproduce what they understood, and that is actually good. That's a blessing in disguise, that students want to take in concepts and rephrase or present that in their own words. This proves, or this indicates, how well they have understood a particular concept or a particular topic. So never stop them from interacting with each other on topics of academic interest, on topics that could be making them socially responsible citizens. That can be things that are part of their day-to-day movements, that are part of their day-to-day conduct as citizens of the country, as responsible youth. They can interact. They can talk about policies. They can be made to talk about rules. They can be made to talk about acts and bills. They can be made to talk about fines. They can be able to. They can be promoted, motivated to talk about the various provisions of the budget based on their level and their grade. So never put a block on interaction. And it's not about the right and the wrong of it. Many people, many students, they are quiet. They do not want to express their opinion because of the fear of being judged, because of the fear of being proven wrong by the teachers or by their peers. So remove that fear of being judged. Tell them it's only an interaction, it's only a discussion, it is only an exchange of ideas and what you know and what you don't know. So if that liberty is given to them, if that assurance is given to them, students do come forward and interact and express their views. Certain times it is very amazing that the teachers learn a lot of new things from students, and we all witnessed this in COVID. Teachers learned technology from the students. Teachers learned how to use gadgets from the students. Teachers learned a lot of features on Zoom and WhatsApp from the students. So when you let the younger generation interact and talk, probably as a teacher, as a person of a different era or a different generation, we all have a lot of learning for us when we observe them interact. The last part of today's session is learning through technology. And this is something that most of us did pick up in COVID. But as COVID left, Alhamdulillah, we are back to normal. But thing is, we should not be discontinuing usage of technology, because what has happened post COVID is that learning has stopped, or learning through gadgets and devices has stopped, but the usage of devices and gadgets has not stopped. And that is a very serious symbol. That's a very serious signal. We thought, okay, now there are regular classes, physical classes, so we don't need to teach over the gadgets, or we don't want them to learn towards the gadget through the gadget. But what we are not able to control is the time spent on the gadgets. So if they were spending 3 to 4 hours a day on gadgets during COVID, they are spending a similar amount of time on the gadgets. Now, earlier it was for learning and attending classes. Now it is for different things. So it's better that we engage, or we set the agenda for that gadget usage. A majority of what they are using their gadgets for should be dictated by us in terms of the agenda. So ask them to learn through technology, set them agenda, give them instructions of, watching this particular video and coming out with observations. So instead of saying, instead of denying access to gadgets, which is no longer an option, it's not within anybody's reach to control people or children from using gadgets. What we have to do is regulate and teach them the appropriate use, and make sure that most of the usage that they are doing is beneficial for them in this dunya or the next. So make sure that we regulate the usage of technical gadgets. There can be LMS systems, there can be online courses, there can be free learning tools. Ask, or guide them to use those, so that their digital gadgets usage time is productively used in learning new concepts. And at the same time, you're also giving them opportunity to learn beyond the classroom. These are few of the ways in which learning can be promoted 360 degree. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to enable our children to learn more and to be more productive and responsible citizens of the country. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Reshmam Saab is there.
Yeah, mashallah, Janab Sulaiman Saab. Really, your session is very inspiring and informative. I don't know how to thank you. Learning by to attain the 360 degree, you have shown the ways of observation, learning by observation, learning by doing, learning by interactions, and learning through technology. And in short, as a gist, I can rather say that all these things have brought to a conclusion that in today's world, the students will become the teachers and the teachers have become the students. They observe the teacher should be very careful and particularly how the technology is working, this in the ways of technology world. Really, your session is very wonderful and informative, sir. If our teachers implement in their classes, really our future generation will be great heroes in their life and they will prove as a worthy citizens to the community as well as to the nation. I would like to request you to continue our session further in coming days. MashaAllah. Thank you. Jazakallah khair, Janab Sulaiman Saab. Now, one announcement that tomorrow we will be having Tamil session as usual. Eminent Tamil speakers are there. Please try your best to attend the session. Moreover, one information I would like to pass you that in view of the great